The storm did not just crash against the shore that night, it shattered the silence inside me. I wasn't planning to save anyone. Hell, I could barely save myself from the way loneliness was eating me alive. But when I saw him stumbling out of the violent surf, soaked, broken, eyes filled with a desperation I recognized too well, I knew nothing about my life would stay the same. His body collapsed in my arms before I even asked who the hell he was. I dragged him through the rain, both of us slipping across the muddy path toward my house. Every strike of lightning revealed more of him. The sharp jawline, the bruised lips, the strange markings on his neck like someone had bitten too deep. His chest rose and fell like each breath was borrowed. I didn't know then if I was rescuing him, or if he was about to pull me into something I'd never escape. The coast of Maine was not forgiving in September. I had been living in that creaky seaside house for almost 2 years, ever since I ran from the city, from expectations, from a family that never understood me. I fixed boats, patched roofs, and served coffee to fishermen who never remembered my name. It was quiet, safe, a place where the world stopped demanding things from me. Until him. When he woke the next morning, wrapped in one of my old blankets, the storm was still hammering the windows. His eyes opened slowly, dark and glassy, like they belonged to some wild animal not yet tamed. For a terrifying moment, he looked at me as if I were prey. Then, just as quickly, his gaze softened, and he whispered, voice hoarse, "You shouldn't have saved me. That should have been my warning." But instead, I felt the air leave my lungs in a way that wasn't fear, it was recognition. "Name?" I asked, pouring him hot tea, trying to mask the shake in my hands. "Elias." Suited him. Something old, wandering, almost biblical. "And you?" he asked back, though his voice carried more command than curiosity. "Caleb." His lips curved faintly, almost like a smirk. "Caleb," he repeated, dragging it out, testing the sound like it was already his to keep. Something in that moment shifted. He wasn't just some stranger pulled from the waves. He was a storm in human form, and too was foolish enough to open the door. The first days blurred together. Elias was restless, pacing my living room at night, staring too long out at the sea, muttering things under his breath that didn't make sense. His body healed, but his presence only grew heavier, filling every corner of the house and every thought in my head. There were nights he'd jolt awake, sweat pouring down his skin, breath ragged, like he was fighting battles I couldn't see. I tried not to ask too many questions, but one night, when his trembling hand gripped my wrist tighter than he should have, I finally broke. "What are you running from?" I whispered. His eyes found mine, burning, raw. Not running. Hunted. The silence that followed was colder than the storm outside. The strange thing was, for all the danger that seemed stitched into his bones, I couldn't stay away. I'd find myself watching the way his fingers traced the rim of his mug, or how his wet hair clung to his jawline. He looked like he didn't belong in my world, too fierce, too broken, too magnetic. And maybe that's why I started to dream of him, even when I swore I wouldn't. Then, one night, as thunder rolled over the sea, I caught him standing at my window, moonlight etching the sharp lines of his face. His voice was low when he said, "You're safer if I leave." "Then why are you still here?" His answer was immediate, too raw to be rehearsed. "Because I can't." I should have told him to go. I should have locked my door. Instead, I stepped closer. Close enough to see the war in his eyes. Close enough to feel the heat of him despite the chill in the room. When his hand brushed mine just barely, it was like a spark across every nerve in my body. And that was the moment I realized. Saving him had ruined me. The tension grew unbearable after that. Every look stretched too long. Every word sharpened with meaning I couldn't untangle. And then came the night he told me the truth. We were sitting on the porch, the storm finally calming, the scent of salt heavy in the air. He stared out at the ocean as if it was calling him back. "There are things about me you don't understand, Caleb. Things you shouldn't want to understand. Then tell me." His throat worked, his jaw clenched. Then he said it. "I'm not like you. I'm not free. My body, my instincts, they don't belong to me. They were made to belong to someone else. The word he didn't say, but I felt like a punch in my chest. Omega. In that moment, everything clicked: the bite marks, the restless nights, the way his eyes burned when they lingered on me too long. But what broke me wasn't the revelation. It was the way his voice cracked when he whispered, "And I'm terrified you'll be the one I can't walk away from." And so, the storm inside me finally met its match. I didn't know if Elias was a curse or a miracle, but I knew one thing. I wasn't about to let him drown. Not again. Even if it meant I'd drown with him. The night I thought I'd lose him, the sea was calm. No storm, no lightning, no screaming waves, just silence so deep it made me sick. Elias had disappeared, leaving nothing behind but the faint trace of his scent on the sheets. My heart shattered in ways I didn't know it could. I tore through the coastal town, demanding answers from fishermen, from strangers at the diner, from anyone who might have seen a dark-haired boy wandering alone. They looked at me like I was insane, and maybe I was, because how do you explain that someone who was never really yours had stolen every breath you had left? When I finally found him, it wasn't by the sea. It was in the woods behind my house, crouched low, trembling, hands gripping his hair like he was trying to hold his head together. His shirt was torn open, skin fever-hot, breath coming in gasps that sounded more like growls. "Elias!" He looked up, and I swear for a second he wasn't human. His pupils blown wide, chest heaving, lips curled back like some animal on the edge of breaking. "You shouldn't be here," he choked out. "Caleb, go." But leaving him was never an option. I fell to my knees in front of him, ignoring the dirt, ignoring the fear rattling my bones. "You don't get to push me away. Not now. Not ever." He trembled harder, and when I touched his face, I felt wetness. Tears, not just sweat. He shook his head violently. "You don't understand. I'll ruin you. My body, it doesn't obey me. The instincts, they'll make me." I cut him off, pressing my forehead to his. "Then let me choose. Even if it ruins me, let it be with you." His whole body went rigid, and for a heartbeat I thought he'd break. Then he collapsed against me, shaking, his lips against my ear whispering words I barely caught. "I can't let you go. Not now. Not ever." The days that followed were a blur of confessions, of sleepless nights where we tangled in fear and in heat, of Elias fighting instincts that wanted to claim me, mark me, own me, and me fighting the world that would never understand why I'd let him. But somewhere between his broken gasps and my stubborn devotion, we stopped fighting each other. I remember the night clearly. It was quiet, the first stars peeking out above the ocean. Elias stood at the window, his back tense, as if the world beyond was still calling him to run. "I don't deserve you," he said softly. I walked to him, slipped my arms around his waist, resting my cheek against his back. "Maybe not, but I don't deserve you either." And yet, here we are. For the first time, he laughed low, raw but real, and when he turned, his mouth met mine in a kiss that wasn't desperation anymore. It was something else entirely. Surrender. But happiness, like storms, never lasts forever without interruption. The men came for him. One night, headlights cut across my yard, doors slammed, and voices shouted his name like a command. Elias froze in the kitchen, eyes wide, the tea kettle whistling in the background like a scream. "They found me," he whispered. I moved before I could think, grabbing his hand. "Then we run." He tried to resist, but I wouldn't let him. We fled into the night, past the dunes, down to the beach where the tide licked at our shoes. Their voices chased us, boots crunching on gravel, flashlights slicing through the dark. Elias stopped suddenly, his grip crushing mine. "Caleb, I can't drag you into this. They'll never stop if I stay with you. And if you leave, I'll never stop searching for you." I shot back. He looked at me like I'd stabbed him with kindness he didn't know how to survive. His lips trembled, words caught in his throat. I pressed my hand to his chest, over the frantic beat of his heart. "We're either both drowning or we both learn how to swim. But you don't get to leave me behind." Tears streaked down his face as the flashlights closed in. And in that moment, Elias did something that changed everything. He let go of fear. He pulled me into his arms, kissed me like it was the only thing keeping him alive, and then turned to face the men who thought they owned him. His voice was clear, strong, unbroken. I'm not yours. I never was. I belong where I choose, and I choose him. The world held its breath. And somehow, by some miracle I'll never understand, the men lowered their weapons, muttered curses, and left. Maybe it was the ocean rising high behind us, maybe it was the fire in his eyes, or maybe it was just fate. But they left, and Elias collapsed against me, sobbing into my shoulder, whispering, "You saved me again." We never talked much about what happened after. Some things don't need words. Days turned into weeks, storms into calm seas. Elias learned how to breathe again without waiting for footsteps at the door. And I learned how to live with someone who didn't just share my house but carved himself into every piece of me. It wasn't easy. There were nights he still woke shaking, nights he still asked if I was sure I wanted this. Each time, I'd hold him closer, kiss the scars no one else could see, and remind him, "You're mine, Elias. Not because your body says so, because I choose you." And every time his eyes would soften, his voice breaking as he whispered, "Then I'll never let you go." One morning, after another storm had passed, I found him sitting on the porch wrapped in my blanket, watching the sunrise. His hair was a mess, his eyes tired but calm, his mouth curved into something small and beautiful. He looked at me like he was memorizing me. "What?" I asked, rubbing sleep from my eyes. "Nothing." He shook his head, smiling. "Just wondering how the hell I got so lucky." I laughed, stepping into the blanket with him, pressing our bodies together as the dawn warmed our faces. "You almost drowned, remember?" He smirked. "Best mistake of my life." And as the sun rose higher, painting the sky gold, I realized the storm had finally passed for both of us. Because love, I'd learned, isn't about saving someone once. It's about choosing them again and again, no matter how many storms come. And I would choose Elias, always, even if the sea tried to take him back, even if the world tried to tear us apart. He was mine, and I was his, forever. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.